Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I am joined by my brother, the Gritty Broman, behind the camera. How are you, Brent?
I'm well, thank you.
Right on. So today's podcast is with our good friend, Ryan Lampers. I got together with him like yesterday. We threw up a little Q&A request on our locals page, our Gritty Stealthy community over at locals, gritty.locals.com. And we got so many questions. It's going to keep us busy for quite a while. But we went ahead.
There's no way you got through all of them.
Not even close. We answered two. It's pretty bad.
Is that because you guys are long-winded or?
No, they were complex topics. So this podcast is long and it meanders quite a bit. But the gist of it, we talk about testosterone replacement therapy. We talk about exercise, like what we do respectively and how we stay fit. We talk about diet. What is it that we eat on a regular basis? And even some of that spans into what we take with us into the mountains and eat. We talk about supplements that we use. There's various supplements that we plug into our diet, and what Ryan uses isn't exactly what I use, but there's quite a bit of overlap. Mm-hmm. And we talk somewhat about hunting as well. I mean, it just kind of naturally flows throughout the conversation. And there's more, but you'll have to listen to get the whole thing. I think you're going to really enjoy it. I just wanted to make a couple announcements before we jump into the show. This week, for the next 2 weeks, actually, from Sunday, starting yesterday, you can get 20% off at Mountain Ops when you use the code GRITTY. You get 20% off on everything. If you want a hoodie, the new workout clothes, and I love that merino hoodie for hunting, by the way.
Battleground hoodie.
Yeah, there's that. Get yourself some slumber, some ignite. You need some energy, some sleep. Those are some of the things I really like. I like blaze shots. So check that out at mountainops.com. Like I said, 20% off using the code GRITTY, and you get free shipping. So now's the time to stock up. Get yourself some sample packs for the mountain. And if you want to win a Hoyt RX4 Ultra, we're giving one away right now. That bow retails for $1,750. Sweet, sweet bow. We're giving that away to the people who have become supporters over on our gritty.locals.com group. It's our Gritty Stealthy group. Ryan and I have got a little community over there. If you go to gritty.locals.com and you sign up, it's $7 a month, and you're going to get access to exclusive film and podcast content that you can only get as a member, that you can only get as a supporter over there. And if you join up right now, you're entered to win the Hoyt bow, which we're going to announce on April 19th. In addition to that, we're dropping a couple movies this month that are pretty long. I mean, they're like 30-minute films that are cool films that no one has ever seen, and it's just for the people who become supporters over there. We're still going to produce a ton of content for our regular YouTube audience, but if you want a little extra, and all you got to do is pitch in $7 a month. It really helps us, so we're not so dependent on corporate sponsors. We're not so dependent on the YouTube platforms, and really helps us grow that independence, which Ryan and I are really seeking. So check that out. Get yourself entered to win a Hoyt bow. Just go to gritty.locals.com and become a supporter. We got two other things we'd recommend looking into right now because we got seasons coming up. Sheep feet, custom orthotics. Those are kind of hard to beat. If you have some boots and you don't have a custom orthotic, check out Sheep Feet. They have been incredible. I use them now everywhere, all the time, in my boots, in my running shoes. I think every guy should have the half length ones, the 3/4 length ones for your running shoes, and then get the full ones for your boots. And then you can just pull them in and out of different shoes. But it makes a huge difference. I can't believe how great these orthotics are. So check that out. It'll make whatever boot you have now into a super boot. And then,
do you want a super boot?
Yeah. Do you want?
That's the real question,
yeah.
folks.
And then also use the code GRITTY at Peaks and get yourself the new Stormcastle Gator. I guess it's not new, but it's kind of new. And that Gator, I have tried to destroy it. Ryan Lampers has tried to destroy it. it has been a phenomenal product. We're really excited about it because it really is. I think it's right up there among the best gaiters on the market, if not the best, both in durability but also in comfort. And it kind of is cool because we participated in kind of figuring out what we wanted on this gator and what we didn't want, and we've been able to tweak it as it's evolved and been a part of that. So check that out and get yourself some elite trekking poles, those sissy sticks over at Peaks as well. Again, use the code GRITTY for all of that, and you're going to save, and it helps us out and keeps our show rocking and rolling. So also, I have been using a lot of supplements from Ryan and Hillary, Stealthy Nutrition. There's a few supplements in their line that I really like. And if you use the code GRITTY over there, you can get a discount on Stealthy Nutrition products as well. For me, I love the krill, the turmeric. We'll talk about those products more in this podcast. Check it out. And don't forget to use the code GRITTY over there and save. And we all win doing that as well. So lots more we could throw at you, but we're not going to. We're going to get into the podcast. Check it out. This is Ryan Lampers, Stealthy Hunter, Hunt Harvest Health podcast. Here we go. All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Call, and today my guest is Ryan Lampers, a.k.a. Stealthy Hunter. How are you, Ryan?
Great. How are you this morning, Brian?
Good. I just saw you face-to-face 2 days ago.
I know. Yeah. You're just here in the great state, hanging out.
Montana.
It's cool to see you.
I felt like it was really cold because it's all sunny and gorgeous. And I was racing against the snow.
We've had like this beautiful spring. It feels like summer. We've had these nice 70-degree days. You show up here, everybody gets together, and we look outside, and it's just snowing like a banshee out there. It's like big storm comes in, and it was just out of the ordinary for what we've been experiencing. And of course, you leave next day, it's beautiful, bright, sunny day. But it's been great.
Yeah, I love Montana, and I don't know, man. We keep talking about it. I might end up finding my new home there, but I feel like I got to quit moving.
A lot of people are.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you guys have moved around quite a bit, but I don't know if I want to be a resident of a certain state for hunting purposes. I don't know that I'm ever leaving Montana.
I know. I'm a little concerned about getting a tag. We'll see what I end up with this year in terms of tags. As a resident of Utah, there's not a lot of opportunity for nice bull elk tags. A lot of it's draw. It's an arid state, kind of like Arizona. It's tough to get a good tag. I think there's some good mule deer opportunities that are archery in the state, but yeah, tough.
From from an outsider looking in, from a non-res perspective, like I'm treating Utah as like a holy grail. If I do happen to ever pull a magical tag out of that state, I feel like I did something. But definitely not a state I'm going to hunt very often with the system. And versus a place like here, not only as a resident, it's easy. The tags are cheap, but the season they give you, Brian, here,
I know,
is 11 weeks. You grab your bow during bow season and hunt for 5 weeks, drop it for a week, and then grab your rifle and hunt for another 6. It's one or the other, 5 or 6 on both, and it's nuts. I mean, it's just so much time through the rut for nice bulls and tons of public land, tons of. I just forget about all that. I'm not trying to get people to move here. I actually don't.
You hate it there.
I just feel lucky to be here. So
yeah, I've thought about it because being able to get a nice elk tag and mule deer tag every year as a resident, it's nice. Idaho kind of has that. They take care of the residents. You got, I think you get great opportunities in Wyoming, Montana, Idaho. Those are some prime states for residents, but it's getting harder and harder as a non-resident to pull tags across the board.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting topic we'll cover on another date because, Arizona came out with their thing recently where they basically they want to drop the draw tags, or not the draw tags, the over-the-counter tags, in,
Right.
I don't know, like 50%. They wanted to change or something of the units away from over the counter to a draw or shut them down. And of course, the reason for that is always some a-hole YouTuber who promotes the hunt too much. There's no other
Good fault, right?
reason for why the fishing game might actually reduce tag allocations or something. That's the only reason.
But then you get like an actual like scholar of how all of this happens, Jim Heffelfinger, and you get him to talk about the why, and he knows all the nuts and bolts that go on to these decisions, and he's very well educated. And I've read his explanation as to why they've considered it and they are adopting it, and that's what makes more sense. There's
Right.
a lot of factors. It's not just, they're seeing success rates go up. They're seeing, this trout that they had. There's a lot of different factors into it, but it's
Well,
not
and when
just the YouTube.
this perception that it's all non-residents wrecking it. And when you talk to Jim about Arizona, they sold like 3,500 non-resident tags for the year. I mean, Idaho, Montana, those are not big numbers for non-resident tag sales, and they're not particularly dramatically higher for Arizona than in past years. Where the numbers really shot up was in resident tag sales. And so that would indicate that the reason there was an increase in tag sales was less to do with people like you and me promoting Arizona. Perhaps more it had to do with just the fact that everybody was locked up due to a pandemic and there was only a limited number of activities that could occur, which they've said is what Arizona thinks has a lot to do with those tag sales, because it wasn't non-residents that bought the tags and really spiked it. It was the actual resident population. And I think there's that total flip where these guys that attack me on Instagram and stuff about, your videos are cool, but they ruin hunting. Too many non-residents came in and wrecked my state. And it's like, actually, there wasn't that many when you stack it up. And really, it was a lot of residents. And perhaps most of those residents have no idea who you or I are. They just happen to have a lot of time off because of COVID.
I tell you, it's across the board. We're not blind. Like we see during this COVID thing, we've seen the trailheads get packed up. We're seeing more fly guys on the rivers around here. We're seeing every recreational activity has spiked. I mean, everything from overland to you name it, the numbers
Outdoors.
are way higher. Yeah. So it's not just, you.
Well, when you can't when you can't go to a theme park, you can't go to a skating rink, you can't go to, the pool, you can't go to these sort of recreational centers because of restrictions around the pandemic. You're going to have people flock to the outdoors, and we just saw that from mountain biking. Outdoor sales were through the roof. If you had an outdoor company, you're winning. If you're selling a Seek Outside shelter, you're winning. There's
Right.
so
I think fly shops, and I haven't heard Brian Call talk about fly fishing once. I haven't seen any YouTube videos on fly fishing from Brian Call or turkey hunting videos. And
yet
again,
there's a lot of fly fishing guys.
a lot. Yeah,
No,
for sure.
that's so it's interesting. I always say this though too. The cost of keeping hunting a thing, keeping it an accepted activity, the cost of that is making it more valuable to people, helping them understand why it matters and that it's valuable. And when you make something valuable to someone, those animals, that outdoors, the hunting experience, they're going to naturally want to do it
and protect it.
So you can't have it be that you want hunting to last forever, but also hide it under a bushel and never let anybody know about it. So I don't know. I'm going to keep showing people hunts and try to inspire tons and tons of people to pick up hunting and to go become a hunter. And I realize that is going to also hurt me in a way that some of my hunting spots and some areas are getting harder to get tags. But it's like, what other option is there? Because I don't see how you can hunting is always in the crosshairs, always under threat. I don't see how you can just have your cake and eat it too. In this case, you can't have your cake but eat it, because once you eat it, it's gone. And I'm like, you can't make it so people want to have it and value it, and also have the easiest over the counter tag experience in every state. Like, can't have them both.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I agree. And we've talked about this many, many times, but, back in my 20s, I wanted it hidden. Like, I didn't want everybody doing it, kept that to myself. But eventually you kind of grow, and you realize there's more important things, and we have to promote this and shine a big, bright light on it, and make people inspired to do it more, understand it better. I think we've done a lot. I think we've done a great job, honestly. We deserve some credit, not us, but just the community has done a lot. In, just take, for example, bear hunting, for example. The comments that used to come in from showing a bear photo or a bear, vid or whatever, it could be pretty gross, pretty ugly. I think a lot more folks now understand it and see it a lot differently than they did maybe 3 years ago. So no, I think we're doing a pretty dang good job of shining a light on it and showing how valuable it is, what we get out of it, the meat that comes from it, the adventure that comes from it, how it can be done respectfully. I think those are all important, and it does bring a value to it with all this younger generation that for years we were thinking like, we're losing the game here. There's a generation here that's just not getting into the outdoors, and we got to have that in the future if we want this to last. And now I feel like there's a lot of young guys getting into it, and it's exciting because there's all these questions from folks that are just now finding this thing that we've already loved our entire lives. We've been, very fortunate to grow up around it. So I feel like we've accomplished something by shining a good, big, bright spotlight on hunting and how it can be done. And it's not just guys out, let's face it, the stigma of chugging beers, driving down a dirt road, shooting stuff off the road. We want that gone. Like, we want that wiped out. We want the FUD years gone. We don't want that. I think we've done a great job at trying to distance ourselves from that.
Well, when you look at, I never related to that stuff because I never did that. And that's not the perception you want, because that's how you end hunting real soon. When you look at modern societies around the world, the trend in modern society is for hunting to go by the wayside. And we've managed to buck that trend in our nation, which is, just go north to BC, British Columbia, Quebec. You go to Alberta, even. You go to these Canadian provinces, or just check out all of Europe. Check out some of these other countries and even New Zealand right now, some of the things they're doing to sort of, it's almost like they're more concerned with squashing the hunting industry than they are with conservation. They say it's conservation. They take action in the name of conservation, but really often it just seems that they don't really listen to what conservation really is. They don't care that those animals get wiped out by wolves or that they die. They just care that you're not doing it, that people aren't doing it. And I think those trends are powerful trends across the world, but somehow or another, the United States has been able to say, no, hunting is valid and to be admired, and to be, it's not just the harvesting of game and bringing meat home. It's actually a spiritual experience. There's actually some life lessons to be learned, and some physical challenges to be gained, and some character to be developed in this pursuit. And you have mainstream voices like Joe Rogan explaining these things, and you have mainstream people like Cameron Hanes, who's quite popular. He's a popular hunter, like on the mainstream level. That's interesting, right? Like, and
It's
so
fantastic.
I think we've been able to do that, and I think films like what we produce and the adventures that we showcase, I just think that you can't you can't you can't just stop doing that and expect us to continue winning as hunters. It's a powerful medium.
Well, the way I see it, like why I've become so like happy that these films have been like they've come to light, like how you've created these films, why I like them so much. You know, I have people in my family, in Hill's family, that you know, they're fed something long enough. They think hunting is this one thing. And now they get to see these films and see how we actually do it. We're not doing anything different. We're not pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. It's just how we hunt. It's just how we've always hunted. But they've always thought when we go off into the woods, we do it some different way. Like we're boozing it up. We're just brown if it's down. We're shooting everything. And there's no respect. And there's no. And how are they ever going to see otherwise if we don't shine a light on what we're actually doing and just showing them that, look, this is cool. This works. We benefit from it. It's a great, clean way to have adventure. Fill your freezer, eat clean. We should be the ambassadors for all things healthy foods as hunters. And without these films and ways to show folks, you know, they're not going into the woods with us, but these films I've had, just like I said, with people in the family, they're never going with me, but they'll watch a film and all of a sudden they have a respect and they're like, man, I just didn't think that's how it was. I didn't think that's how you guys did it. So they think differently now, and they're not going to flip the switch to off if it came to a vote or whatever. And for the mere reason that they've been able to see it for themselves.
Talking about being an ambassador for fitness, health, and wellness, you know, you're 47, I'm 46, and I feel, I don't know, probably the best I've felt my whole life. So there's a number of questions that have come up. So on our Gritty Stealthy community, that's been so cool, by the way, just to have everybody supporting us over there. And I threw up a photo of us from our meeting yesterday, hanging out, and I said, we're going to podcast together. Any specific questions or topics you want covered. So the community threw in
a lot of questions.
A lot of questions, which is cool because that's what we want. We want to know what they think, what they want to know, and engage like that. So talking about wellness and health, one of the questions, there's two questions. I'm going to read them both and we'll just start talking about it. But Midtown Rick, he said, I'd like to hear the difference or similarities in how you guys prepare for season. Do you both put a lot of miles on trails versus CrossFit style workouts? Are either one of you breaking in new boots for the whole year or going with your tried and true Old Faithfuls? How much rifle versus bow shooting right at this time? Like, what's your prep? And the other one is Jay Beckler, and he wrote, I would like to hear more about healthy living and dealing with low testosterone. Just had blood work done, and at 37, it showed I was below the normal range for my testosterone. My doctor already said they are reluctant to put me on anything, so I am worried that I will have to jump through a million hoops before they address it. Ready to have some energy and motivation again. So there's some topics right there. I think, someone did follow up. Yeah, someone followed up with Jay Beckler and said, why were they reluctant? And he responded by, well, family history of blood clots. All my other tests came back spot on. So I'm very healthy. I just can't make any gains physically. And my endurance sucks nowadays. So, and if your testosterone is below the normal range, given the fact that the normal range is unhealthily, the acceptable normal range is wrong. And if you're below that, you're in trouble, my friend.
Yes, you need I would recommend like hormones, testosterone, those type things. You need to talk to multiple doctors because I'm just getting the info from my wife who is in that realm and she talks hormones every day. But there's still kind of this old way of thinking that this normal range is okay, but it's not okay. It's not what it was 20 years ago, not even close. So, you know, like I said, my wife deals with this all the time, and generally, it's so rare for people to come in and test at what she would consider a good range. They might fall into that normal range, but like you said, the new normal is low. It's just low.
Yeah,
it's way low.
It's 80-year-old man low.
Just because the general population falls within this whatever 300-400 range, that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be at 800 or 1,000. You know, which it used to be not that long ago, and there's all kinds of factors as to why men aren't producing it as much as they used to. Environmental factors, all kinds of different things that my wife could better speak to. But I would recommend talking to multiple doctors on this one. Somebody who deals more in hormones and isn't just your standard going old school with, well, you're in the range, but you need to ask, well, is this range healthy, or is this just the range that most 30 to 40-year-olds or 40 to 50-year-olds are at right now? It's probably where it's at right now, which is across the board, everybody's pretty dang low.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Well, like you just said, the other thing, that normal range, well, back to the doctor situation. When I went and got my testosterone tested after I spoke to Hillary, I got a letter in the mail that basically said, congratulations, you're just fine. Nothing to see here. You're absolutely healthy. Your testosterone is in the normal range. So then I asked Hillary, here's my number. And she's like, ooh, that's gross. That's really low. And I'm like, but it says I'm in the normal range. And my doctor said, we don't need to do anything. You're great. Mm-hmm. You're totally fine. So then you start digging around and you realize that the normal range doesn't mean anything in today's hospitals and in the medical field. Doesn't mean anything. It's useless garbage. It doesn't, if it said optimal range, those numbers are totally different. Mm-hmm. Normal's not good.
No.
If everyone in America is obese and we're like, congratulations, you're in the normal weight range. That's not optimal.
If they're saying
normal is not a good word.
When they're saying it's normal, even though you're half at what this 70-year-old is today, that's not normal. It's not normal in any way. It's just, it's
normal
average
for what's going on at this moment.
What's going on right now with men. Yeah.
So my advice was, my doctor, when I actually had kind of sent Hillary I researched a bunch of hormone specialists, and often these doctors, homeopathic hormone specialists, they're not going through insurance much, and they're not going through the medical space, kind of like your wife as well, because this stuff isn't funded by pharmaceuticals. Mm-hmm. And when I talked to my doctor, he who helped me with testosterone replacement therapy, he said, I'm like, why didn't my doctor do what you're talking about doing? And he said, because those doctors are motivated in a completely different way. When I came in and say I have low energy, they want to prescribe me, I don't know, Adderall or something. And then after that, when I get anxiety, they want to give me some Prozac or Xanax or something. And then after that causes downstream issues, maybe high blood pressure, then I'm going to get on some statins. And there's just a pill for everything. And that's the way to go.
Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid. Not ever really getting to the root problem.
When really my issue is I have low testosterone because we live in a modern world, and it's the plastics to the wavelengths to the Bluetooth to the stress, the food we eat, the industrialized seed oils, you name it. There's the estrogen and hormone injected foods. So there's all these things that are playing a role in knocking down that testosterone. But like my doc said, he's like, but congratulations. You live in a modern world that's knocking your testosterone into the dirt, but also you live in a modern world where we can prescribe some medicine, some testosterone that'll get you up to basically optimal levels for your age and for where you're at. And I'm like, all right, I'm not looking back, man. I feel exceptional. And I feel like when Beckler talks about this, he's like, how do I just deal with it? I'm afraid the doctor won't do anything about it. He said, I'm fine. I think you just have, like you said, you got to go find a doctor that really knows this field. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, my wife produced zero testosterone after cancer, after chemo, and after all that. For a couple, she still had zero. It was broken. Her ability to produce testosterone, which cancer can do things like that to your endocrine system and just crush your hormones. And people don't realize how delicate testosterone production is. Your body's ability to produce testosterone is really delicate, and it doesn't take much to inhibit it. Where estrogen seems to just power on through, no problem.
Sure.
So she ended up going and getting checked, and then she did what Hillary had recommended with a pellet, and that's like a slow release testosterone for her. Which
makes it easy, and I think a lot of people are doing that now because it is kind of like a get your pellets, forget about it for 3 months type thing versus the shots once or twice a week that they do. So I think it's making it a lot more palatable for folks.
And for people who don't know, they just put a little slit in your glutes or someplace in your rear end there, and then they put like a rice grain sized pellet in that little slit, and then they like glue it, seal it shut, tape it, and within a couple of days it heals. But then it slow releases day after day after day. That keeps your testosterone up in a level that's solid, and there are no shots, no creams, no mess.
Yeah, I think it's, and one of the like highlights of it is it's consistent. Like it's consistent. So from what I've heard, like when folks do hormone replacement, they do shots a lot. To be consistent with doing shots, maybe you have a busy schedule or, and you miss a week or you miss a few days, it's kind of up and down a little bit more versus it's not really a surgery. Like you said, it's a little slit and they dump these little seed grains in there, basically. You get to forget about it for 3 months, and it's just this consistent release, and it just kind of rides this line versus kind of a, up and down. So definitely we need to get Hillary on this podcast, talk about this more for folks, because she is a wealth of knowledge. It's what she does every day.
Yeah. So, we should, and we're kind of talking about it. We're not doctors, but I think, I have my experiences in being on testosterone replacement therapy, and I can say from that angle, it's been excellent for me. My energy levels are higher. My sex drive is great. It's normal. My recovery from hiking and climbing and stuff is rapid. I feel like I felt like in my early 30s. That's what I feel like, which is a great place to be, being 46. I just
upper 40s.
I'm not as horny as I was in my 20s, right?
Which is good.
I don't necessarily want that. But one thing that
you want to be strong. It's the winning hormone, Brian, and we all have to have it. You want to be motivated when you wake up in the morning and feel strong and feel like you're going to go accomplish things. And, if you don't have that anymore, maybe you should look at that for sure and talk to a doctor. There's many of them out there that work with hormones and can really fill you in on what might be the best route to take.
And it's not just men, by the way. Women are having the same problem and they don't even know it. And my recommendation, my wife said this the other day to some friends, if your husband is going to go in and start doing some therapy, hormone therapy, she's like, the wife should go in too, because you could be at 0 or 20 or 10, way, way below optimal levels. And when you're both doing it, you're both on the same path, the same drive, the same motivations, right? And everything's like blissful. But I can see where one's like conquering the world and the other one wants to sleep and has no drive and all that. It's not going to be good for the marriage. Yeah. So you want to,
for sure,
maybe as a couples therapy. But before we move on from that topic, the downsides I think people have, or the fears they have with hormone therapy, I think years ago there was a lot of unknowns and a lot of stuff they were tinkering with. But from what I understand nowadays and what I have seen, there's actually greater risks in continuing life with deficient hormone production than there is on the flip side of taking exogenous hormones to get you up there. It's come a long way, and from my perspective, I feel so much healthier. I feel like my aging has like slowed way down. My brain fog gone. Like that stuff really, it's subtle. I was telling you and Hillary about it years ago. Like I'm gonna be down, man. Things aren't the same. I was going to the gym all the time, could bounce back right away. I was staying sore for 7 days after a workout on a Monday. I was still sore the following Monday from that Monday's workout. Things weren't right, and so when I got those T levels results back, it's no wonder I didn't have what I needed to be able to function at a normal level. So I'd say, it's not something where you just wait for your doctor to address it. You have to be proactive. You have to find a different doctor. Talk to someone who's a specialist in this area. And
I think the biggest knock is what scares people is when you start getting it, your body will slowly decrease producing it, right? And I think people are a little scared of once you're on it forever. You're on it forever. But what if you're not on it and your way of life isn't such that you want it to be? You're kind of like, you have the brain fog, you wake up just kind of groggy, you don't have that drive, that motivation to go crush and conquer the world. Is that the life you want to live forever? And you're still producing this minimal amount of testosterone? Or do you want to optimize it every day and you just crush and feel great? And feel like you did in your 20s. That's the question. And there's not everybody wants the same things, but I feel like it's way more accepted now. People have come to realize that they just want to feel great in their 40s and 50s and 60s versus settling for having their body produce this minimal amount and just kind of like trudge through the day.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's funny too when you look at men that have been on testosterone in their 70s and 80s, that were on replacement therapy type stuff versus people who opted not to. The quality of life of some of these 78-year-olds is through the roof compared to their 78-year-old, buddies who did nothing. The aging process, their functioning abilities, their alertness, they're not even in the same ballpark. And so they say they've said before, I've read this a lot, that the greatest predictor of health going into old age is the amount of lean muscle mass you have at 50, 60, 70. The more muscle mass and lean muscle mass that you have at those older ages, because it's so hard to put on that muscle, but it's a great indicator to how much better you're going to live. And you can't do that if your testosterone is below 200. Sure. You're just going to be some problems. And so I think there's a lot of anti-aging that goes into taking care of yourself. And it's not just the testosterone stuff. Like that's a part of what I have been doing, but some people think it's magic. Like, oh, if I go get testosterone, that's my only problem. If I go and do that, I can still smash McDonald's, have a Diet Coke, and not have all and my inflammation and soreness will just go away. Like that's kind of what happens.
It's one of the pieces to the puzzle. Yeah, it's one of the pieces for sure. I think, we all get older and there's all these different things. There's the exercise, there's the daily intake of food. What are you putting in your body? There's supplements that, do you take them? Do you not take them? Your recovery, are you getting the sleep? Are you just have way too much stress in your life? There's so many different factors, right? And, we've come to a place, you and I think are on the same page on this. Like we want to be able to do this thing that we're doing right now, that you and I were doing in our 20s and 30s. We crushed it back then. Feel like we're still crushing it in our 40s. I still want to crush it in my 50s and 60s. I don't want this to slow down. Yeah. I've still got a million places I want to go conquer in those mountains. I got wilderness areas and just mountain ranges every which direction I still want to go dial in. And, what am I, 47 right now? 47? Mm-hmm. But I think, fortunate for me, I live with Doc Hill. So we eat clean, as clean as we can. We're not perfect, but we have 2 young daughters, so we compromise with certain things. We're not like strict, everything's vegetables and no fun, but we regulate that pretty dang well. We take supplements that we feel are helping us recover every day. We try to get it, the best sleep that we can. And we try to keep the exercise up so that we never just fall off the wagon and have to try to catch up. And
so walk me through, first walk me through your sort of a breakfast, lunch, and dinner daily snack kind of Ryan Lamper's sort of routine, and what supplements you're using in that lineup. Like, what are you taking in addition to that? To what does Doc Hillary recommend, and so on. And then after that, let's get into exercise and kind of how you're operating that way.
Okay. Yeah, kind of a daily for me. Some might think it's boring, but I do pretty much eat eggs every morning. We've got a buku amount of chickens that throw us these clean, healthy eggs. And so we eat a lot of eggs, and it's not just like scrambled eggs every day, but we'll mix them into like these clean, like a oat flour with egg medley. We blend it up and we make these pancakes for the kids. They taste like a pancake, and yet they're pretty dang clean, and they got a lot of nice clean protein in there. So we do a lot of eggs. We do a lot of bacon in the morning. Those are kind of staples in this house. School days.
Where do you get your
weekends,
bacon?
We got this really good shop in Bozeman, and they've got this great uncured bacon that is free of nitrites and all the things that we're trying to avoid. And, we've always kicked around the idea, like we eat so much of it, we got to make our own, but we're just not in a place where we can have our own pigs, and we eat too much of it. But, looking for a good clean bacon is, I think, important. I want to try to not put as many nitrites into my kids as possible, as well as myself. We'll all each eat a couple pieces of bacon in the morning, and usually it's something to do with revolved around eggs. We'll have some berries out for the kids to grab handfuls of in the morning as well. Pretty basic for our breakfast. And I'm a coffee, eggs, bacon in the morning guy. Love it. Just don't feel like I'm ever going to get sick of it. Lunches, it's kind of all over the board. We just try to keep it as clean as possible. Sourdough bread, if we're making sandwiches, we try to not eat as much bread as we want to. I mean, bread is awesome, and it's great. Some people do better on it than others. If we're doing bread, though, we're trying to do a sourdough. In this house, we run crock pot a lot. We've got soups, stews, always getting brewed up in that crock pot. And usually, it's a meat from one of the takes that we had in the fall, deer elk as the meat, and then just a bunch of vegetables and a lot of bone broth. Bone broth is kind of a daily with the soups, and we use Lono Life a lot if we don't have enough from our own bone broth that we've made. And I think bone broth is huge. Like, there's no reason why hunters shouldn't have this excess of bone broth in their freezers. You can make it into these little ice cube, easy to just melt in the morning, quick shot of bone broth, start the day.
I have a freeze dryer.
So you got a powder, just like that Lono Life. They've got this really good grass-fed, clean. I think there's like 10 grams of protein per stick of bone broth. We use that a lot.
And it's supposed to be good.
Out.
I don't know why, but it's supposed to be good for gut health, they say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know why.
I don't know why either. I just know that it's supposed to be good for gut health.
Yeah.
That's what my wife tells me, and I listen to my wife. But yeah, we eat a lot of that. And you'll notice in the videos, when you ask what we're eating up there, we eat a lot of that bone broth and that kind of those lotus noodles with just some sea salt. That's kind of a staple. We do a lot of that even here at the house with the kids. It's just easy to make. We do that for their lunches. a stick of the bone broth with some noodles in it and a little sea salt. They love that. We just put it in these little thermoses for school. And and then dinners, boy, I mean, it's pretty much, it all revolves around a meat of some sort for the most part. Whether that's an elk steak on the Traeger or the BIRCH barrel, or a soup that we made that has a lot of meat in it. So it's a full-time job trying to get rid of all the meat out of the freezer, Brian. You just got to keep on
Right.
it daily. But vegetables and meat is kind of the staple in the evenings.
So if someone's listening to this, Ryan, and they're going, dude, I am not a full-time chef. Are you kidding me? Like this is a lot of cooking, or it's a lot of this or a lot of that.
It's so easy. Get a big old giant crock pot and just throw a bunch of veggies in there and some meat and flavor it up with some sea salt, and you're good, man. It's easy.
It really is that easy. It really is. We've cubed a lot of our elk steak and it's in the freezer ready to go. My wife pulls it out, she dumps it in the crock pot. She'll throw in all the veggies and stuff she wants to throw in there. She has a venison stew that's just awesome. And so she has that little recipe there. It's got a bunch of leaves floating in it. I'm not sure what those are, and I think basil or something. And by the time she's done with it, I'm like, it's no work at all. She just dumps it in there, walks away, comes back in the evening, and it's ready to go. The Traeger makes life easy. It's hard to ruin anything on the Traeger, on the pellet grills. Yeah. If you just want to sear something on that BIRCH barrel, that's especially if you're going to hang out outside, it's hard to beat.
Dude, we do a lot of just like taking a zucchini or whatever vegetables we have, a lot of onions and mushrooms, put them on the barrel, just let it rip. Yep, it's good, really good. And I love that little bit of char to the vegetables. Just cut them in half, put a little oil on there, charring them on the grill. It's hard to beat. It's just something I never get tired of.
Yeah, I think the same thing. You're kind of describing what I would eat as well. And I don't think we have as good of a, we get our vegetables at the grocery store. We're not growing them in our yard, but I eat a lot of vegetable matter, just vegetables all the time, breakfast, lunch, dinner. There's not very many vegetables I don't like. And then I pound a lot of fruits. I just don't do citrus much. It's acidic, and I don't deal well with that. And that's a thing. Like tomatoes, similarly, I take it easy on those as well. Everybody's going to be a little different in their diet and what they thrive on. You were saying earlier with bread, some people can do really well on quite a bit of bread, and some people, it's their nemesis. Sort of like cheese and dairy too. Some people can crush dairy, and others get a rash, mucus. Yep. Their guts always inflamed,
plugged up all the time. Yeah, it's noticeable. Yep, for sure.
And so a little elimination diet goes a long way. Pull things out, throw things in that you pretty much know don't bother you at all, and then over time, start throwing some things in there, and you'll find out pretty quick that you don't feel optimal when you eat this food, versus that.
I think for the most part, it's just you could boil this down to trying to cut out sugars and processed, to the real high sugar type foods and processed boxed type foods. And I think for most people, and obviously, like you mentioned, a lot of people are real specific in what they do the best on, whether it's a keto or a carnivore or a whatever. But I think with those two things in mind, just always being aware of high sugars and processed junky type foods, I think you're good. It doesn't have to be too much of a science.
Well, let's talk about this for a minute, because a lot of people are going to go, oh, none of that sounds good to me. Because their palate is so tainted with Haagen-Dazs ice cream on the daily and soda and sugar. And if you eat
cereal for breakfast,
I told you I went to the see my new shirt. I went to the Ricks College or the BYU Idaho campus in Idaho the other day. This is the retro shirt. I got it at the campus store. My daughter's looking at going to school there, so we did a little visit. Yep. Well, we're on the road, and they got this free coupon to go get a bunch of stuff at Chick-fil-A. So I haven't eaten Chick-fil-A, and I've only eaten it once before in my life. But we're there, and it's this special thing. We're on the road, and so we get Chick-fil-A. Ryan, I ate that, and I was crushed for 2 days, like wrecked. And I didn't find it particularly tasteful either. It didn't taste good to me. And so I think when we come off of a mountain after we've been out there 14 days or 12 days, and Chick-fil-A, we could smash 6 of those, and we could also eat the milkshakes, and sometimes we come down, not when we go find a place where we can just get burger, fries, and stuff we would never normally eat. But we've been running on a pretty severe calorie deficit, and it doesn't seem to affect me at all.
Yeah.
But on the daily, people eat like that all the time. I don't know how they do it. And the one thing I wanted to get to was there is hope. When you start eating better, healthier foods, your palate changes. Mm-hmm. And you and I experience this all the time where we'll be eating something. We're like, I don't know how people can eat this. Mm-hmm. It's too sweet. It's too sweet because we don't eat sweet foods like that. You're gagging on it. And that's just a regular thing if we don't make our own food.
When I think vice versa, the folks that are used to like fast food every day, I think they come to a place where they're just okay with not feeling their best. It's like when you eat clean for a long period of time and then you go have this cheat meal, like whatever it is, greasy fries and a burger, which is so good at the time. What happens like an hour later? You feel like crap. Like you just usually you just don't feel good. But
you're right.
But then a lot of people are like, they do that every day and they just have a tolerance to it. And I don't think my opinion, I don't think they know how good they could feel if they ate clean. Like they're just used to feeling kind of like bogged down, little foggy, a little bit like, meh, they don't have the go-go.
I think they feel like that's just age. That's just normal. And it's not, because to your point, I had been exercising heavy, some serious CrossFit workouts kind of stuff, throwing on weights, doing 100 burpees in the workouts, climbing the mountains, running 5 miles every other day, clearing information immediately, clean diet, water, all the supplements I'm taking and stuff, going to bed, waking up feeling just fine, ready to go about my day, doing the intense activity, clearing the inflammation overnight, like whatever's there, being not very inflamed to begin with. Mm-hmm. Then I eat Chick-fil-A and I'm sore we rode in a car. It was like a 4-hour drive, and just sitting still driving after having worked out intensely for 4 or 5 days in a row can stiffen a guy up, but it's usually fine that night. But when I eat Chick-fil-A, it's not fine for days. It's like all of a sudden everything's sore, the back is sore, everything's different. And that's just me having one crappy meal with chemicals and things in it, and salt and sodium and everything and sugar. And I don't know what else is in it. Honestly, it's disturbing. Why? It just seemed like a fried chicken on a bun with some fries and sauces, like in a milkshake. Why should that make me feel so crappy for more than a few days? But I think what it is I know what it feels like to be at an elite level. I know what it feels like to eat clean day after day after day all the time and to push my body really hard. And I'm on the edge, right? As I'm trying to excel my level of fitness, I'm on the edge. And as long as I'm pushing my body to that limit where I want it to also recover though right away. And I can do that just fine until I introduce something like soda and a milkshake and your whole Chick-fil-A meal. Some people are going to hate me because they love Chick-fil-A, but I'm telling you, if it makes me feel that way, there's a lot of red flags.
Yeah, I haven't had Chick-fil-A. I've heard it's really good. But like I said, we do it, especially with kids. Like we'll go in, like we're like 35 minutes outside of Bozeman, but we'll go in and we'll have like a day in town or something like that, and we'll have a meal. And sometimes we go out for ice cream after with the kids and all that.
Pizza, awesome. We get pizza, me and you with the family.
Coming off, it's our celebratory meals, like especially coming off a mountain, we go do it. But then you inevitably, you know what's coming. You just feel like garbage after, not too long after, but it's so worth it during that hour that you're eating it. But we'll go do those things, and they're just fun nights, and they're like a cheat night, cheat meal, whatever, fun for the kids. But you pay the price, like when you eat pretty dang clean.
But you
pay the
don't
price.
you don't pay the price that much if you're not exercising. Like
Mhm.
I can eat pretty crappy, but if I'm not pushing my body that hard, then I'm not all that inflammation. I'm not causing much, and I don't need to be able to get rid of it much, but when you really want to get into shape, that's where it truly does start to matter. Every little detail starts to matter.
Sure.
And I want to live so I feel like that all the time, not just seasonally when I'm focused on getting in shape.
Yep.
I
I think it's important. Like we say all the time, it's like we're in our late 40s. We want to do this thing forever. We want to feel good as much as possible. Look, we got to keep up. We got to not just keep up with these 20-year-olds, Brian. Like we got to be able to beat these guys on them. We got to beat them to the top, and we got to get there ahead of them, and we got to be able to go farther than them. So how are we going to do that? We got to eat right, get our sleep, continue the workouts as much as possible. It's not rocket science. It's just something that you have to do if you want to maintain and excel in these things that we do.
So what are your favorite grab and go foods? Name some snacks. I know we both like Heather's Choice Packaroons.
Yep, I like those. I like her snacks. We also build our own. Like we make our own jerky quite a bit on occasion.
You make multiple versions of some kind of peanut butter
balls and cookies. Yeah, I love peanut butter. We'll make these really, really simple. Like if you're a meal prep guy, you could sit down in 30 minutes, you could come up with a week's worth of supply of just clean little peanut butter balls. Like if peanut butter is your thing, or you could just make your own little macaroons real easily with shredded coconut. You could do the peanut butter as well, which I usually do. Some type of a sweetener, little agave or little maple syrup or a little honey, which is obviously a sugar. But it doesn't take that much if you have a peanut butter as a binder. And then oat flour if you're making a true macaroon. So real easy to make. We usually toss a few other ingredients in there, like the hemp hearts is a good one. It's clean. I like the crunchiness of it. It's got extra protein in there. It's just a good little addition. So we'll roll those little peanut butter balls into the hemp hearts or a shredded coconut. Good clean fat there. So you can make those so easily. They're so cheap. Or you can buy, there's so many good clean options out there for just grab snacks. Like a Packaroon from Heather's is great. Get a few calories, especially for, running a trail or whatever. And then I do the leathers that I've always done. Those are easy to make ahead of time.
Like a sweet potato, apple pear mix or something.
Yep. Just a good clean snack. But man, you can get all kinds of creative on the snacks that you make and throw in your pack for a hunt.
But even as I was on the road the other day, driving to Montana, just having stuff ready to go, like your jerky snacks you had in the meeting there, that's pretty solid.
Yep. Hard-boiled eggs. We have so many eggs at our disposal that, we get these fresh eggs, and I'll usually throw like 24 of them into the back of the refrigerator and so that they have a little time to age. Because if boiling eggs, you want them to get a little age, or it's just hard to peel them. So every once in a while, I'll do up another batch of 24 hard-boiled eggs, and those are so easy to just grab and go. What is it? 6 grams of protein per egg. Nice clean snack. Again, I throw a little Redmond sea salt or sea salt. That's my new favorite. Sriracha sea salt on there, and it's just easy. It's something that you can toss in your bag and go. Jerky is another thing that you can make in a weekend and then just have it for weeks to have and go, and you're not having to hit the McDonald's and or the convenience store and grab Snicker bars. Just have those things at the ready. And a lot of these things you can throw in the freezer too, like all these cookies and Packaroons and things. Toss them in your freezer. If you just spend a weekend of prepping them, bag them up, put them in the freezers, take them at will.
They're fine.
Yep.
Now, I know for inflammation, you've got CBD oil in the lineup that you take. You have other things. Tell me about the supplements that you're running and why.
Yeah.
I do. If I don't take calcium, I'm in trouble. And I think that's a genetic thing, because I think some people can get it from their food or something. But for me, it's a major part of.
I've heard you say that. Calcium, and is it magnesium for you?
Mm-hmm,
You take magnesium? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I treat supplements like that. It's just one more arrow in the quiver to try to stay ahead of these 20-year-olds. Like, I want to recover faster. I want my joints to not be inflamed all the time. I want to feel good. So, Hill and I have spent a lot of time trying to figure out what those things are that we need to take and that we don't need to take.
And you've got Stealthy Nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a stack of supplements that you and Hill you guys sell them.
We do. Yep. Now we do.
And you've put a stack together, and we talked about it before, that you feel like right now is both good for the gut, but just it's the inflammation. Really, at the end of the day, like, a lot of this is around optimizing your ability.
It's me.
Yeah.
Selfishly, it's the things that we have are things that I'm taking every day. So, like, it makes sense for me and Hill. Why not offer them? So that's kind of what we've done. That's where we've taken our small business, and we're building sups that I feel like there's good use for. We have our own krill oil that's really high quality, which is something that now, selfishly, we've got our own. I don't have to purchase other folks' krill oil. We got our own really clean krill oil. We also have our own immune probiotic, which is kind of just a daily. I've
taken the krill oil for a couple of months, and I'm a big fan of krill over fish oil, and just because it tends to be cleaner than some of the fish can have more heavy metals, and
you can get some bad krill oil out there too, like poor quality krill oil. If you're burping,
any omega-3 can go bad fast.
Mm-hmm. It can go rancid on you, and so there's a lot of cheap stuff out there, junk, that you'll taste it. You literally taste the fishiness of it later, like when you can burp it up and just it's bad. It's rancid, which happens. So yeah, I mean that works well for us. Turmeric is another one that I think everybody has heard and seen benefits or heard of the high benefits that you get with taking a turmeric. And ours has all kinds of good stuff in it. So that's kind of a daily. But with those three, along with the CBD that we're doing, I take CBD every single day. And I've seen the benefits of it, just like we talked about. It's about keeping the inflammation down, because for you and I, we both try to hike every day or run or do a workout or something to keep ourselves at the ready, because this isn't just a fall season thing for us anymore, Brian. We're doing this. We want to do this like throughout the year. You got to stay on top of it. So CBD is just one of those things that I've been taking for a long time now. And it's just like a daily multivitamin in this house. And it helps with the inflammation, helps with my recovery. And so I've got that. I'm taking turmeric. I'm taking krill oil. I'm taking a probiotic every day for my gut. This, those simple, basic are kind of it for us. And then, we also do a drink mix. We do a real nice, clean electrolyte drink mix as well. So, which is kind of what I just use on my hunts. I'm not a big water fan anymore. I used to think just, clean water used to be so easy, but no, I think water's just better when you add a little something to it, even if it's just a little bit of like a squirt of lemon or something in there to break up just boring old water. Yeah, our drink mix it's not sweet because I've grown out of the super sweet drink mixes. I just can't do them because you're trying to do as much as you can every day. You're trying to drink as much as you can. I can't drink that much straight water, and I definitely can't drink things that are very high sweet. That flavor, it just bothers me. I just don't drink as much.
So it's a lot of sugar in that form. You can, with your drink mix, you can throw in some liquid IV, a little bit of, you can cut the sweetness of the liquid IV with what you've got, kind of a little half and half. I found that to be pretty nice. I think for me, I actually like or need quite a bit of salt. And some people need to stay away from salt. Some people need a lot of salt. My whole family, we've just always been those kind of people that need a lot of salt. And so I'll take a Himalayan sea salt and I'll just dump it in with the other mixes in there and get a little extra salt above and what's in there. But if I go straight water, I just pee it right out. Like, it's just clear. I don't retain it enough. And I think a lot of people probably don't realize that the reason they feel crappy, the reason they're tired, the reason that they're not healing or their muscles are still sore is because I bet they're dehydrated. Very dehydrated. They don't. I
used to know the number. I used to hear the number a little bit more. I can't remember what it is. Most people are somewhat dehydrated, and it causes a lot of problems, clearing inflammation to a whole host of things. So, adding an electrolyte or just a salt, it's important. Like, I know back in the day when we used to do these really long extended hikes, we had those little salt caps. I don't take those anymore. I just have a little baggie of salt. That's why I add it to almost everything. Whether I throw a little sea salt on an avocado, throw it in my ramen with bone broth, I'm always adding salt. I add salt to the darn hard-boiled eggs. It's almost on everything.
I like the pink Himalayan sea salt. My wife has like 3 different salts. Really, I like all 3 of them. It's salt today that you can get a hold of is nothing like the iodized salt back in the day. Like, it's got all these different size crystals and minerals and things in it. And it truly does enhance. And like you were saying, you're throwing it in your bone broth, you're throwing it in, and just having a baggie of salt that you just throw it in. I can kind of go by flavor now, whether I'm getting too much salt or I've had enough salt. It's like instinctive almost. Do you find that too? Like, you're throwing it in your bone broth, you're throwing it in your drink, and you're like, oh, I don't need salt in this one, but I'm craving some salt now. Like, you listen to that craving.
When I say I throw, like, I'm throwing literally just a little pinch in there. I don't need too much. You can definitely overdo it with salt very quickly. But if you're a sweater, and I know you're a sweater, your salt probably runs right at your feet, Brian.
Absolutely.
You got to replace that stuff. Or you're right. If you're just drinking straight water, you're not going to have that charge, and you're missing out on those electrolytes that you need to just crush your day. So, I don't add too much, but I definitely always throw a pinch in there, especially with, like, maybe even my own bone broth. Without the salt, it's a little tough to choke down sometimes if it's really strong, really power-packed bone broth, and just doesn't take much, and that just makes it really palatable. And
I'm telling you, like, almost any drink mix that I've used, I throw some salt in there, it changes the game. I think I've been having, so now and then you do these True Lemons. Right here. And I take one of those and throw them into a large water bottle and then a pinch of salt. It's the perfect mix. Without the salt, though, I might as well just drink water because I'm pee it out in like 5 minutes. It just goes right out.
Well, I listened to, you've had him on the podcast. We had him on a hunt, Mike Munsell, Metabolic Mike. And he's always been a big proponent. He uses that Redmond sea salt, really good, clean. I think they might be out of Utah. They might be out of your neck of the woods. But a really good, clean salt, and he uses that almost on everything as well. He's just seen the value of it. So I know a lot of people. I think a lot of people are a little scared. Like I think when I was growing up, it seemed like salt was one of those things that you shouldn't eat.
It's going to stop your heart.
Just like high fat diets is
cholesterol
bad,
and eggs is going to make your heart stop.
Yeah. More grains and things. I mean, I think everything was flipped upside down back when we were kids. Everything has changed. So, yeah.
I want to ask you, so I take the krill oil here, and in the past, I used to take the straight up fermented cod liver oil from Green Pastures.
Mm-hmm.
For me, krill oil, fish oil, cod liver oil, those things they're night and day. For my body, fish oils are everything. It's like taking ibuprofen, but the healthy kind. Mm-hmm. Just the swelling goes away. The soreness, I flow, man. Mm-hmm. So for me, this is a major component to my lack of inflammation is fish oil, krill oil, right. Cod liver oil. The problem with these oils, like we talked earlier, is they can just go rancid so easily. And finding a quality one that you trust is not easy.
Yep.
And from batch to batch, you're like, because it doesn't take much in the form of heat to damage omega-3s. Fish oil can just go rancid. Think about it. You bring a fish home, it'll go rancid like instantaneously. Mm-hmm. But other fats, like a bear, it could sit there for 2 weeks outside and the fat doesn't change, Mm-hmm. Well, that's an exaggeration. It can go bad too, but there's some fats that are more stable than others. And omega-3s are in that boat where they're not that stable. And I've had a lot of bad experiences where a capsule breaks inside and the whole thing's tainted, or you're taking them and for some reason, every time you burp, you're just burping a lot with this batch, and you realize you've been taking rancid for a week, and so I just think, and you got to be careful because that stuff's horrible for you. But when it's encapsulated and you swallow it, how do you know if it's good or bad? It's like a probiotic at the store. Mm-hmm. How do you know it's even active? How do you know that the bacteria in that isn't just dead? And you're just taking a placebo, and that's why getting stuff from the right places matter. So, talking to Hillary about this, you guys went through quite a bit of work to find this krill oil, and it's super clean, super nice krill oil. Yep. What has the feedback been so far?
We've been super excited about how little bad feedback. We haven't got any really bad feedback at all. So we've had nothing but good feedback, which is kind of, we didn't expect that. But, I think, like you said, with the inflammation part of it, there's such advantages to obviously the krill oil, also the turmeric, those type things that are been so well documented and proven to help the inflammation. A lot of folks can't take CBD, Brian. A lot of folks can't take CBD.
Well, I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, a whole other discussion about people that are, you get tested, and we're just not in a place in this world yet where everybody can take it. There's still
we've talked about this because I took CBD I've gone through rounds of it at times, mm-hmm. and I'm like, well, I can tell it's a little bit better incrementally, but I haven't been blown away. Where if I take the oil, the krill oil, and the calcium, I take Shift calcium, I tend to be pretty good. But the first time I was doing a CBD oil was with you, and it was a couple years back now, and I had a little anxiety, and I was telling Hillary, I just feel some anxiety that I don't have when I'm off of it. And then when I took it, I had it. And so we kind of explored that. And you have full spectrum, you have
broad spectrum,
there's different CBD oils, and there's quite a bit that goes into it. And then since then, you guys have kind of evolved your CBD oil line, and you've got multiple options, but also you know more about it and you've experimented with it. So then I've been on it now for a while, and that anxiety isn't there anymore. I used quite a bit last season, throughout our season, both in the form of the drops, like the CBD tincture, just taking some drops and stuff, as well as the soft gels. Mm-hmm. And like I said, my inflammation is lower than it's ever been in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is a thing where you can still eat Chick-fil-A all the time and then just take these and it'll fix it. It's a combination of all these things together. I eat really clean.
It's just one more arrow, right? It's just one more arrow. It's this whole package that you have to do. CBD oil isn't going to fix all your ails. It's just one of the things that's going to help you along, and the ability to crush your workouts every day. You recover so much faster. At least I do.
And that's the thing I was going to ask you. Like, you're like, yeah, I noticed some. Like, you don't take a calcium supplement, do you? And magnesium.
Mm-mm.
And yet you don't feel a deficiency if you don't. Like, you feel you're crushing it. For me, I literally will have joints start to give me problems within a month of not being on an extra some kind of calcium supplement. And so everybody, I think, metabolizes a little bit different. For you, the CBD has been a major.
Yeah.
I remember you showing off in New Zealand on one of our first hunts. You were like, you were feeling great, and it was a new thing, and you had just sort of gone onto that, and you're like, wow, I feel younger. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was night and day because, I think, and I've always preached this, I think sugar was the first thing that I cut out to help me crush it in the mountains. Because I hit a point in my 30s where I was having a rough go at the end of a season. I was hunting so many big trips, and by the end, you're just kind of pushing yourself through those last few trips. By the end, I was wiped out. Like, I just wasn't recovering anymore. I was feeling older than I was. And so naturally, my wife worked with me on a lot of things. Number one was cutting out the sugars, not just in your everyday. Like, you can eat pretty clean year round, but inevitably, what do a lot of the hunters do come season when they're going in for 2 weeks or a month, or they've got 3 months of hunting from September, October, November? They throw a bunch of crap in their backpack, and they're eating Snicker bars, and they're eating this high sugar diet, just nothing but bagels and Snicker bars and you name it, high sugary drinks. And that adds a lot of inflammation. And so you don't recover as well. And so, my first step was trying to eliminate the sugars from my everyday, and then eliminating the high sugar stuff from my pack day, like my hunting days on the mountain. And that was pretty easy to do, and I felt great. But what's the next step is trying to add supplements that are also going to help you recover quicker. Turmeric is one. The CBD was another. When I started doing the CBD, it was one more thing that, like, if you work your body every day, you kind of get in tune with what makes you feel good and what makes you feel not so good. Like, you've pushed yourself too far, you push yourself hard for a week straight on heavy backpacks doing this similar type hike. You either eliminate something or you add something. You're quick to realize, like, wow, that really worked. Like, I really feel a lot better doing that. And when I first started doing the CBDs, we were doing these death hikes, like endurance, long distance backpack races, the train to hunt style things where you just crush your body, and you need something else. Like, you can have a clean diet and that helps. But when you want to do this hard activity day in and day out, what else can I do? And so we did a lot of research on the CBD. I added it. She added it. And it was just noticeably better. And a lot of my buddies started trying it, and it was noticeably better for them too on these big trips, these big, death hikes, 30 miles to 100 miles, and taking it just made a lot of difference. And so, and Brian, I am a skeptic of all things. Like, it's just in my nature. It's how I was raised, to be a skeptic of all things. And so CBD was one of those things. And I get that from my dad, critical of everything, and he's a skeptic of everything, unless he sees it for himself. Now, he's come a long way because he too was introduced to my wife, obviously, and she's changed a lot of his ideas on on foods and supplements and things, and he is a daily CBD guy now as well. When you notice it works, he had a knee issue, like, and so did my mom. They started taking CBD, and it's just like, boom, they feel great. They wake up, they're not all creaky. It really helped out. It felt like their knees were all lubed up again, ready to conquer. Now, some people have drastic, life-changing experiences with CBD, and some people don't. They don't notice it. It affects everyone so differently. Like you said, everybody metabolizes it differently. For example, I can take a broad spectrum CBD tincture like we have. I could take 30 milligrams of that for a week. I could go take a pee test just to see. And a lot of drug tests don't distinguish CBD from THC, unfortunately. I could take something with literally zero THC in it, as in a broad spectrum, and I can pee hot. Pee on a stick, and it's going to say positive, test positive. Even though I've got zero THC, zero, not even a full spectrum capsule, my body just metabolizes it differently. Hill could do the same test, pee's negative. It's just different. And we've noticed that. And one of the things that we've learned in this journey of CBD is everybody's different when it comes to metabolizing it. Some people have incredible effects. Some people, it helps their anxiety. Some people, it gives them a little anxiety. Maybe THC does that for them if they're real sensitive. And it really is this experimentation with doses. And maybe a broad spectrum is good for you. Maybe a full spectrum is what it takes to help you in whatever your ail is. So it's an interesting. We're always learning more about it. We've got a lot of
powerful. Whatever it is, it's powerful because it does impact people so dramatically from person to person. It's doing something, And when you dive into, the cannabinoid system and all that stuff and how it's functioning. You have people like Suzanne has a niece that has seizures and stuff and has some brain and body issues, and we have a couple that have kids that have spina bifida and some other issues, and autistic children, and they get on CBD and it dramatically changes their lives. It'll short circuit all the seizures.
Right. So
what the hell, Ryan? Like, why?
I don't know.
That's huge.
There's a lot of conditions out there. It's not really mainstream talked about much, but yeah, they have this thing in their life, this ailment, and once they start CBD, it's gone. It changes their world, and it's incredible. But then again, somebody else could take it, and maybe they just don't have the same effects. And it's really hard to explain, and it's hard to put your finger on. But
one of the things that we talked about was dosage. Like some people try a CBD, but they try such a poor quality one that doesn't really matter, doesn't really count. It's not doing anything. And there's a lot that goes into that. Or they try a CBD and they take such an incremental small amount that it's not really having that effect that you want it to have. So there's a balance there too that has to be struck. And for me, I started taking just a little bit more than when I first started taking. For some reason, I don't have the anxiety that I did a couple years back, but I think you guys were doing slightly different CBD back then.
Yeah. In fact, we changed the formula. We have one of the gentlemen that we learned a lot about CBD from. He's a guy we've had on our podcast, Matt. He works with a lot of cancer patients, right?
That's right.
And one of the things that I got out of his conversations was how different people are and the amounts that they need to make them feel right. So maybe, a lot of times with cancer patients, it's nausea. Nausea is the killer for them. Like they just can't get themselves to eat. And you need to eat. And you need to eat to get better. You need to eat to recover. And so a lot of his experimentation is, what's the dose that's going to get you to this happy place where you feel like you can eat and it eliminates the nausea. And people are all over the board with what that dose is. Some people, it's a really high dose. Some people, it's hardly anything. So it's just not your classic, here's a pill, it's going to make you better type drug. It's not that at all. And there's still a lot to learn, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But that's for me personally, I take it, I feel better on it. And I'm going to do anything and everything it takes to crush mountains and just to stay ahead of you and the 20-year-olds. So if it's CBD and it's turmeric and it's krill oil and I want to keep my gut health right, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Well, there's another thing that I fell in love with when we were on our hunts. I'm not sure I like the glass bottle, kind of the weight. I want to shave some ounces here, Ryan.
We're getting there.
You have this CBD sleep spray that just give you a couple squirts in the mouth.
Yeah.
People complain because it tastes like, I don't know, bark, wood.
I've heard that.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's not, and it's like a mint flavor, but it doesn't taste like mint. It's not like this great mint flavor for sure.
But this little mouth spray, dude, I like do a few squirts and then I crash out cold, sleep deep. It's kind of nice to. I always recommend people. I like a lot of slumber too. Mountain Ops has the slumber, and I'll mix that up, with the chai, sleepy chai. But there's sometimes when I don't want to heat something up, get the water ready and mix it up. I'm not looking to have, I just want to squirt and go to bed, and this stuff I really like for that, especially when I just don't feel like mixing something up.
It's fast. It's fast. For me, it's fast. Like CBD.
You were doing some gummies for a while there.
Yeah. Melatonin, man. And that's another, it's like our bodies are so different. Some people, you take a melatonin and maybe 30, 40 minutes later, like it hits them. Dude, in 10 minutes, if I take a melatonin, my body must metabolize it so fast. I can take a few squirts of that, of our spray, our sleep spray. In 10 minutes, I'm slurring words and I am out. I'm not hearing your stories anymore. So.
Yeah, I'm still talking. You're done.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've got right now is your CBD gummies. So this is evil. I'm like,
they're so tasty.
They're so tasty, and and they've got 25 milligrams of CBD per gummy, and so it's really hard for me to resist eating the whole 30 count out of there.
Yeah, I know. But no, they're good. A lot of people, like all of us, I don't know anybody who doesn't like gummies. We all love gummies. But I think like I told you before this podcast, dangerous because, you could go from 50 milligrams of CBD a day where you may take 2 gummies in the morning and 2 gummies in the evening and end up at 100, which is fine too. Whatever your dose is that works for you. But it's a good test of willpower. I'll put it that way. If you can just eat your 1 gummy, that's saying something.
So far, it's been a week or so with the gummies. I have not been able to take just 1 a day. Nope, not happening.
Neither.
So you've got this full spectrum CBDs or soft gels here. And I much prefer chewing a delicious gummy to get 25 milligrams than swallowing one of these.
So true.
So what is the benefit? Like, what is the difference here? Is there a difference? Is there a difference in metabolizing? Is there a difference in, with that delivery? Is it just convenience? Like, what do we, tell me about that.
Yeah. And again, Hill can talk more to this than I can, but we have some fail points in our lineup right now that we're going to be changing as far as like me. Look, Brian, this all revolves around me. And I'm selfish. Like
that's
it has
what
to work for me. And like our sleep spray, for example, that doesn't work with my degree because it will freeze on you. So gummies, melatonin type gummies work so much better. Or like a sleepy chai from Mountain Ops, right? That's going to work. It's not going to freeze on you. because it freezes. It is really hard to like warm back up to be able to use your spray bottle. And also, those caps, they'll freeze on you as well. Gummies won't. You can suck on a gummy and be happy as a clam at the end of the day. But krill oil caps as well. It's another thing that I've realized. Minus temps. There's a certain little section of season that we have, end of season, where caps are not the best thing for you. So we need to have multiple offerings of things that are going to. If I could turn everything into a gummy, I will do that.
If you could turn everything into
I want my sleep formula to be a gummy, and we're working on that. Like everything into a gummy. For number one, they don't freeze on you, and they don't expand, because like what I've noticed is krill oil, you can freeze it and you can like blow it out of a cap. So it's a problem in freezing type conditions. But
it's got to be pretty cold, because it is an oil, and oil doesn't freeze that easily.
We had a little batch that we actually left outside. It gets cold here in Montana. This is a real man state.
Yeah, you're talking
like minus 15 degrees.
You're talking, the ground is like concrete everywhere.
Yes, and they will freeze and then warm back up, and we had some explode on us. So it was an issue, but I think long term we're just going to have multiple offerings of each and everything. Right now, we're real happy with the capsules. I'm fine with just capsules, but I'm a little more apt to grab that bottle of gummies in the morning than I am the capsules every day. So,
well, that's really cool. I think right now this immune support is the other one, the turmeric. We should get Hill on and talk about those a little bit. But I love it, dude. I love it. I think this is a lot of the gut health kind of stuff, that clearing inflammation, that people don't realize they're missing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and you're one that we've had this conversation before, especially with like electrolytes. You're one that, because you sweat everything out of your feet like a freak, you notice like when you're low on electrolytes, right? On the mountain, you're crushing it every day. A good electrolyte versus a not good. You have a reaction of good versus bad. So
absolutely.
I feel like our electrolyte drink is spot on. It's not a real sweet flavor to it. It's got good clean stuff in it, and it's kind of everything I've needed. So
we talked about this last year as I was, we were in our teepee there. Where are the snack packs, brother?
Yeah, they're coming.
Your electrolytes in a tub. Where's the grab and go?
I know. And that's where we're failing right now is, again, everything's got to be around me and what I can take into the backcountry. So I need these little grab and goes, and we're working on the little daily packs that'll have, our array of supplements in it, so that you can just grab it in the morning and go chug it down.
Cool. So. Very cool. Yeah. Well, I'm excited, man. People can go and find the supplements on, is it Stealthy Nutrition? Is it
stealthynutritioncbd.com, and that kind of has everything on it. Stealthy Nutrition CBD.
Okay. I'll put a link in the description field of the YouTube videos for people who want to find it there. And what's cool is if they use the code GRITTY,
absolutely,
they're going to get 10% off everything over there. Now, you mentioned to me one of the things that people can do, which I actually have set up with a couple of companies right now, including you can sign up for a subscription. So your stuff just comes each month.
Every month. Yep.
So I
feel like a lot of people have gone to that. It just makes it easy. I prefer to do that as well if I have something that I need to take. Because I'm terrible about remembering to order, and then things just disappear and they're gone forever. So it makes it easy for folks.
We got on that a couple years back with the Shift Calcium, and we just have it on auto order every month, so that when it gets here, we all have what we need. I do the same thing. I've done that in the past with some fish oil that we're on a subscription where it just comes every month. I really think that's what you need to do, an auto order system if you want to stay up with it. So having that built in, that's pretty cool. What made you guys think of doing it?
We didn't have that in, with my smart wife. She put a survey out to the email list of folks that have ordered in the past and just asked about things that could make this better or what they feel we could change. And that was one of the things, is a subscription, so they don't have to think about it. So it's kind of from the customer's side. It came from them. So yeah, we added it and it's been a great success. So
nice.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. So let's talk about the next thing, which is, kind of this, to answer this, to get this question fully knocked out, exercise, right? I think a lot of people are wondering about that. Like, what does the exercise look like? Like, to be able to do what you do, what kind of commitment is it in terms of exercise?
Okay. Yeah. And you and I are probably pretty different. I know you're pounding 380 pound squats and stuff like that. I don't do that. At all. But for me, the one thing that translates to the mountain the best for me is just hiking with weight. Not every day is it with weight, but it's every day. It's every day I'm doing a hike. And that may be a few miles, 5 miles, sometimes more. Some of those shortest hikes I add more weight to if I don't have the time. If I'm in town, I just go run the little M trail. It's only a half a mile up to the top and then back down. But doing it for time keeps you pushing. Like, you can't relax when you're trying to beat your prior time. And that's helped me a ton. I mean, it burns you out because you don't dare want to have a time less than your previous. Right. So for me, I love the heart rate up with the hikes, steep hikes, short hikes, even long distance hikes on occasion. Right now, my daily, I'm doing 3 to 5 miles up here, not too far from the house. It's a good opportunity to run the dogs and put my legs through a good workout. So throwing a little weight in the backpack and doing that, and that translates the best for what we have coming up for hunting season. Now, we do get storms in Montana. So when I say every day, it's not every day, because there's some days I'm just not going to go out and do it. Either don't have time to run up there, or it's an all-out blizzard outside and everything is gross. So we got a basement. We've got a box down there that we'll do step-ups on. I've got a little brute force sandbag that I use a lot.
Yeah.
Throw it up over the head. Do a squat with it, and I'll do 10 of those. I'll do the step-ups. Got a little battle rope down there. We've got just enough stuff in our basement to give me a really good workout. We've got some of the more traditional stuff with the bench and whatever, but my wife, she goes down every morning. She wakes up before I do. She's a champion, and she's down there, and it's usually what wakes me up is hearing weights clanking around. I'm more of a either midday workout or late night workout. Those are my prime times. I love working out late at night. That's just when I do the best. But you can get a lot done just creating something around that little, box with, jumping up on it, a lot of step ups. I feel like that translates really good for what you and I do. Just keeping the legs in great shape and just doing simple things like that. The sandbag, a couple kettlebells, but for the most part, it's hiking with weight, hiking short distances uphill for speed. That's my jam, honestly. That's just works really well for me.
Yeah, I do similar. I should hike more with a pack, and I do on and off, but I'm working so much in the office, editing and being behind schedule, just in terms of the goals for what I want to produce, both for our YouTube and our public channels, but also for the locals community, the Gritty Stealthy community. There's films and content I want to produce for them as well. And right now, we are hiring someone here in the next few weeks, so that should dramatically help us increase our production by having a whole nother body in house. But I've lately, because of the time crunch, I still think people can get out and exercise and get a good workout in without the commitment of a long trail run or lots of hikes and things like that. And so just because of where I'm at, I've been focused a little more on just a general physical preparedness, going to cross the street because I'm not far from the Mountain Ops gym there. I pop in there, and I typically, I basically pick a workout that takes me about 20 minutes to knock out. I'll row on the row machine for about 10 minutes just to get warmed up. I'll do some stretching, a little rolling with the cross ball and foam roller or whatever, and just get a little loose. Then I'll start the workout, and it'll be about 18 to 20 minutes long, and it usually consists of a mixture of movements. Typically, I'll do like 25 burpees. The next thing I'll do is 5 handstand push-ups. It'll be 10 pull-ups. It'll be 10 deadlifts at like 155 or something, and then I'll go back to the burpees, and then the second time around, I'll do everything the same, but instead of deadlifts, I'll do clean and jerks at the same weight, and I'll do 10 of those. And I always try to throw a barbell, either squats, deadlifts, overhead press, or clean and jerk. I rarely do snatches because they're a little more technical, but I'll do cleans a lot. And that's my routine, and I can knock it out in about 20 minutes. Sometimes I'll go each movement, I'll pick 5-minute movements, and I'll just do that movement for 1 minute, and the next one for 1 minute, and the next one for 1 minute until I'm knocked out 4 rounds. And I'll maybe take 1 minute between each 5-minute circuit, and it's just random, but a lot of the movements still are consistent: push-ups, pull-ups, burpees, handstand push-ups, barbell. And for me, I just feel like moving external loads, heavy loads in terms of deadlifts, in terms of squats, I just feel like all the body weight stuff really, and the conditioning and the burpees and the handstand, I think all of that calisthenic movement's great. Body weight, it also keeps the heart rate up. But I don't want to, we're old, dude, and we're a little bit old, and I don't want to get injured.
Yeah.
And doing a deadlift, a squat, or a clean with a heavy bar tends to put on more joint strength for me than other activities do. And then when I go, so that's kind of my thing, but then I'll go for a 3 to 5 mile run 3 or 4 days a week, where I just okay, Brent just went home. We just finished our edits. It's about 5:30 or 6. I'll throw on my running shoes, and then I'll just go run right from the front door, run up the hill, and I'll run back down. And then I get back to work and go back to hang out with the family and whatever. It doesn't really take any time. It's just a nothing burger. It's just what I do all the time. There's no big sacrifice here. And typically it's a 30-minute run or less, and I'm back. And I think by maintaining a basic level of fitness and just going through those routines, on the daily, I also go by how I feel. If I crushed a workout the day before at the gym, and then the next day I might just go for a light jog for 2 miles and then come home.
Right.
Or I might have run 7 miles because I just felt like running that far. And the next day I might go lighter in the gym and just do like 3 movements for time and finish up in like 10 minutes. I really do listen to how I feel, and I'm not in a hurry to get hyper fit. But when I do sit down to work out and I commit to it, though, like you said, I think intensity matters. It matters a lot. So when I do commit to it, I'm going to be intense about it, but I'm going to limit the length of it, or the duration and such, so that I don't overdo it ever in a way that sets me back a week or gets me injured or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm super hyper conscious of trying to not get myself injured these days. So I definitely don't push a lot of things that I used to. I don't push the distance as much as I used to. I used to try to push that endurance distance probably too much. And I think there's a fine line of overdoing it. So I think that's where lot of those supplements help with, overuse injuries as well. But I love even short, sweet hikes, like short and sweet hikes, like I mentioned, with a little weight and for speed. Man, you get everything you need, and you can knock that out in 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and just get a crud ton of heart rate. You get your leg strength, the up to down.
There's nothing
that is my best exercise by far. So.
There's nothing that beats the actual activity you're going to go do. And this is another thing I've said before. Me and Cameron Haynes had a conversation about this once, because I don't want to run like Cameron runs. But what gets him excited? Running.
Yeah.
So what gets me excited? Climbing the hill with my pack, like what you're describing, it doesn't particularly get me excited. On certain days I want to, yes. But other days I want to throw a barbell around and do handstand walks across the gym.
That sounds horrible.
That's just what I like to do. I want to do 100 burpees for time. Yeah. Like that gets me excited. And so I say to people all the time, do what gets you excited. Your workout routine doesn't have to be, a certain thing because that's what you need to do to be in shape. No, it can be what you really enjoy doing or just something you like. And exercise is sort of like grown-up playtime to me. And make it grown-up playtime. If there's things that you want to do that are kind of funny or challenging or unique, do that. And sometimes it is putting on a pack that I've never used before, loading it up and seeing what it's like. That's playtime in a sense, or using my trekking poles in certain conditions with lots of snow, or putting on the snowshoes, whatever. But I think you just got to mix it up and do what gets you excited.
Yeah, and I think it can change, because I used to do a ton of running. Like I used to run a lot, and I never enjoyed it though. So it wasn't something that was going to last. I never get sick of hiking. I've always loved hiking.
You're not the opposite.
I went through the running craze. Like I read the Born to Run book way back, and that just got me even more like ultra marathon. Man, I read all those. Those were fun. I mean, there was a time where I just ran a lot, and it never was exciting. I never really looked forward to going out and doing a run. I know it was great. It worked. Felt like I accomplished something, and you go into season in shape. But I came out with a few more injuries than I do when I'm just waiting to pack. So. Yep.
Yeah, I have calves that really lock up tight when I do a lot of running. I think it's the explosive movement versus when I hike. I don't have that same. It's a weak spot, and so I think you have to be real cognizant of that. And when you do your thing, you got to pay attention. I was listening to a book the other day. No, it was a podcast on Jocko. Jocko had a podcast with a British soldier. It was a pretty cool show, and I forget the gentleman's name right now, but his leg was basically ripped off not ripped off, but ripped up above his head because he got caught in a parachute, and it severed all the tendons, ligaments, everything throughout. So he got on an exercise bike after surgeries, lots and lots of surgeries and stuff, and he does a lot of exercise bike riding even now, and bike riding, because that's something that he's able to do with that, given the limits of his body, and still stay super fit. And I think he broke the Guinness Book of World Records for riding his bike on the longest road in the shortest number of days.
Impressive.
Pretty cool podcast.
Yeah.
He started like down in Argentina, and it takes you all the way to like northern Quebec or something. And so he had to ride his bike the whole way.
Wow.
In I think it was 98 days or something.
That's cool, man. And to each his own. I love riding bikes too. I used to ride a lot of mountain bikes. I was just riding a mountain bike yesterday up on the mountain, but I feel like it's a low impact thing. That's a ton of fun to do. It's great. The only thing I've noticed is back when I used to ride a lot of mountain biking and road biking, that didn't translate as good for me on the mountains. It's different muscles.
I agree.
And I know, like, Hillary's, she's got a brother. He was a velodrome guy. He would ride. He could also for a daily and go ride 100 miles. Guy crushed it on a mountain bike, like crushed it, or a road bike. The guy's quads were like giant, right?
Tree trunks.
But I could take him hiking, and it was like he was the most out of shape fella ever. Just different muscles. But he was elite level racing with Lance and all those guys. But it didn't translate to the mountain.
I think the primary reason in my experience is load bearing. Load bearing exercise is king. You know, doing weighted lunges and things, that translates well. Biking or swimming it just doesn't help. You're not load bearing. Your joints aren't used to having the weight over and over put down on the ground. Non-load bearing, I think it does pump a lot of oxygen to your legs. Biking does, and it does increase some capacity, but I think it's completely squashed by the load bearing aspect of what you're doing, that your body's just not. I think
it builds your lungs and it builds your cardio, and it does, but you're right. I think it's just the different, like you throw weight on a backpack, it's just different, and it's just not there. They don't have the balance, the uneven terrain. Their legs get fatigued really quick.
I think one thing that's for me is that I literally, when I get up in the morning, 6:30 to when I quit for the day around, I don't know, 9 or 10, whatever, I literally stand from the moment I wake up till when I go to bed. I don't sit. I stand, I edit, I work, I go to the gym, I climb, I do stuff. I stand on my legs and I work all day. It doesn't faze me at all, standing that many hours straight, period. Right. And other people, they can't stand an hour, 30 minutes, and they're like, where's my chair? I can't do this, or they wear out. Right. And I think that's one of the reasons that I handle hiking well, even though I'm not hiking all the time. I'm on my feet all day long.
Yeah. Have you seen this, Brian?
No.
So this is my wife's new little contraption, because she's got a standing desk that's right in front of me. So it's curved, right? And all day she's standing on it. Instead of just flat-footed, she's rocking back and forth, and it just keeps you moving, and you don't get that fatigue of just standing on one spot. It's kind of cool. She loves it.
I need to check that out, because I literally do this all day long, where I edit and I walk and I move and I put my leg up, and I'm never not moving for the most part, even in this conversation with you. But I have been at a standing desk for more than 10 years now, and I don't know how people do it, where they sit. First of all, sitting at all just is like the new smoking. You know, it's it's bad, really bad for
your body, terrible for your back and all those things. Yeah.
So standing all day, I think a lot of people, they're not even used to standing, let alone hiking from morning till dark. You know, I don't get any foot fatigue, or I'm not tired at all from a standing position, because I just do it. It's
you're already on your feet all day. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think little things like that, as a like you were saying about the biking, I don't think that translates as well either, but I do think you work within your limits too, you know, and if that's, we were talking about this last night, you know, Sydney has no feet, and try no feet, and he goes on all these runs and gets out and he hunts, and literally he has no feet from like the shins down, right? Yep. That's impressive, right? And so when I see that, and I see somebody going, well, my back bothers me, or my knee hurts, and so I don't go to the gym, it's like, no, you can't have that attitude. And especially when you see somebody like Sydney, it's like he has no feet and he still makes it happen. We all should just take a page from that book and get that exercise in, even if work around those issues. You got a knee, a neck, or a shoulder, just okay, then your other shoulder's fine. Put it to work.
Do something, yeah, for sure. I think keeping yourself accountable every single day just to do something, or you'll get old, and you'll get old fast, and everybody knows it's hard to get it back. And I don't want to ever lose it and have to try to get it back, because maybe you won't get it back. That's my worry. So
Well, so far we've done all these hunts together, and neither one of us have like had any. Like I sprained my ankle last year. I think I might have been with you. I don't remember. Was it with you or with?
Yep, that was with me.
Yeah, I sprained it, and I was like, "Dang it!"
We were actually on the way to a bear. We were trying to get to a bear
That's
really
right.
quick, running down the trail, basically. And yeah, you rolled it.
Yep, which I do about every 2 years or 3 years. I roll a little bit. I just cinched up the laces, and we kept going. And
Yeah,
it's been about a year. It still has a little pain, and it's like, oh well, it'll go away in a year or two, maybe. I mean, but for the most part,
we've been pretty free of injury. I mean, I had a little thing with my knee on that New Zealand trip. I don't even know what I did. It was almost like this thing that just kind of like tightened up after the fact. Like we had a really brutal pack out night that was like for the ages, coming down that rocky canyon. And it was cold. It was frozen, slippery. We back and forth across the creek.
Things were fine that night, though.
Yeah, everything was fine. Like I didn't feel anything. And then, it was like the next day or next evening or something like that.
I think it was the chopper ride.
It was coming out. Yep.
Climbed in the chopper. And
then I got out.
I sat down. That's the problem. You sat down.
Got out, and I was like, man, what is that? What's going on? And it was just, it couldn't really put my finger on what it was, but that bothered me for a little bit. But that's really been about it. So
but you exercise through it, basically. Just get it fixed. Keep going. Yeah, I think a lot of people. I've received a few comments lately, like, how do I just don't have the motivation. How do I get out and exercise and all of that? And I think one of the critical parts to that is just set a small daily goal, just tiny one that you can achieve. Don't think of fitness as a destination. Think of fitness as a way of life, because it's like when it's a way of life, it's just, hey, I need to go and move my body. And maybe it's simply, I think it's so smart to start with really small activities. One of the things I looked up the other day, there's a little workout routine, and it was do 10 push-ups, do 10 sit-ups, and do 10 air squats, and do that 2 rounds. And then the next day it was do something similar, and it was really minimal. And I think, and then it scaled up over a 3-month period. Really, really slowly, though. I think that's how people win when they're trying to come back to getting into shape. Too often they try to bite off too much, and
they get sore, tight, and then they give it a few days, and that turns into a week, and they just never get it back. Yeah, I think what you need to remember is after you work out, think about how good you feel after you work out. Similar to think about how crappy you're going to feel after you eat that dang McDonald's burger. Like, remember the last time that you ate a crappy burger or junk food or whatever, you're going to feel bad. But you always feel so much better after a workout. Even if you don't feel like working out, you always feel much better. And I hear it from my wife all the time. Like if she's had a little lull in her workouts and then she goes down and works out, comes back up, she just feels so much better. I mean, it's always like a mood brightener and just a better day after that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, my wife has, except for when she had cancer, she pretty much doesn't miss a day. And when she goes to the gym, she crushes the gym. Like you said, or first thing in the morning too. I don't know what the hell's wrong with our wives, because I don't like working out until after the work day is over and I got everything done. Mm-hmm. And then I work out, eat dinner, and I go to bed. Like that's my timing. That's when I like it. I don't like to work out in the morning at all.
I don't either. I don't get it. That's coffee time for me.
That's right. Well, dude, I think we answered all that. I think that's cool stuff. Hopefully people got something out of that. If I do think going to the doctor and getting testosterone checked everyone should do it, male or female. And I think you should consult a specialist too that really knows their hormones.
And let's face it, it's a good tie-in too, because I think a lot of people, like you were just saying, they don't have that drive to work out. They've lost it. That could be directly correlated with where your hormones are at, whether it's testosterone most likely. But
a few years back, I was asking you and your wife when we were at Mark Livesey's house about, we did our podcast on testosterone, sex, and gut health, and I was telling you guys, man, I am beat down. I go to the gym religiously, and I work out hard religiously, but there was a time a couple years prior to when we were having that discussion where I didn't have to talk myself into going. I craved going. Mm-hmm. I craved being there. I couldn't wait to get there and throw down with all the dudes and friends and people there. And I loved the challenge, and I was invigorated, and I came home and I did more things on top of that. Where I was at that stage when I was talking to you guys was I dreaded going, and I just made myself do it. I literally just sheer will made myself go, and I'd go exercise, climb a mountain, do it all. But there was no endorphins being released. There was no pleasure coming from it. There was no exhilaration like there had been a couple years before. And that's why I was saying something's wrong. Something's off, because I just feel like garbage. Now, I'm still executing, but the entire motivation pattern is gone. So I think absolutely getting testosterone levels and hormones where they need to be, they're powerful. They get you motivated to do those things. Now it's like, I crave it. I want to go. I can't wait to get down there and throw some bars around and do some handstand push and play around the gym or go for a run or climb.
Right.
I crave that. And the other thing is, when I do all that exercise and I crave it and things are clicking, you know what else happens? I crave different foods. I don't even have to have discipline on diet. I just naturally gravitate toward meaningful foods. I think it's your body's way of it's a great way to get on the right diet. Is exercise drives hunger. Yeah. And I think when you don't exercise, it's like a Coke and a donut. Yeah. There's something like your body's betraying you. Right. And then when you exercise, you're like, I could use a steak, eggs, and some bacon.
Yeah. It's just they just fit so well together, like clean eating and working out. You eat clean, you feel better to work out. It kind of just goes hand in hand. Yeah. Who wants to do this great workout and then, go eat a donut or a Snicker bar and, crack a Coke or something like that. Nobody does.
Especially that's my brother's thing. He goes to work out because when he's done working out, he doesn't want to ruin it with a donut. But if he's not working out, it's really easy to be like, well, I'm not achieving anything anyway, and I might as well just throw the donut on top of it, But literally, I think my wife is the same way. She goes and works out, and she's like, dude, I sacrificed. I laid it all on the table this morning. I was sweating all over the floor. There's no way I'm going to ruin it today by eating this or that. I'm not wired that way. I don't think really in that way. I just crave a different food. Thankfully, I don't feel like I have to fight urges to eat garbage. They're just not there. Yeah. I can say no. Like yesterday, Ryan, I got up in the morning, got work done. The first meal I ate was at 8:30 last night. I didn't eat all day. I just didn't eat. I was going, doing things, getting things done. The day before I was with you, I ate there, but the next day, and it didn't bother me at all, fasting all day. Didn't faze me. And I think that happens to me all the time. I'll fast all day. Doesn't faze me. But I think it's because I have a body that is fueled, good at fat burning. And if I decide, hey, we got too much going on, or I'm active, my body can just fill in the void and go without food, no problem. Yeah. And I think that's a good indication of things being on track versus if you crash, you got a sugar problem.
And it's a good thing to fast on occasion, right? And again, going back to Metabolic Mike, he talks about that. They basically build fasting into their lifestyle every week. Sometimes some people will do these feeding windows where you're literally fasting every day for, maybe 16, 18 hours if you have a 6-hour feeding window. So you're always fasting, and it does kind of just regulate your body. And I think it's becoming more obvious that there's so much benefit to it. So, and yeah, if you don't have this hard crash when you do it and you have to skip a day, and let's face it, you've not packed enough food on some of our hunts, and you are forced to fast at the end of it. So it's not a bad thing to have your body adjusted.
Dude, that was a rough trip. Actually, I told you, I think, the last 3 days where I didn't have any food at all, I was like 200 calories a day. You know what? I was functioning fine, surprisingly.
Yeah.
But I did feel like eating the house when I got back to base camp. But then when I got back to base camp, I chowed a whole bunch of food, and I'm like, I'm gonna puke. Like, I'm now used to being much less food. So I had to like stop myself from overeating from the deficit. But it just goes to show that your body performs really well on a lack of food. I think, in fact, there's a lot to be said for clearing inflammation and for getting healthy by just calorie restriction. Mark Sisson is a big proponent of just that. He's like, humans, especially Western society, they're killing themselves by eating too many calories a day. Like, you're just getting too many calories. You don't need that many calories. Your body can survive on far, far less, and our bodies are healthier, our minds sharper when we have less load on our system, constantly processing food, and a lot of it with garbage in it. So, I don't know. I feel good when I fast.
Yeah, so do I.
But you still had more energy than me, though. I was coveting your I was coveting some meals there. You gave me a breakfast, which kind of saved the day, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. In those mountains, that amount of distance that we had to get out of our area, we needed a little something.
Yeah,
something.
That's when I tried to cut it too tight, because every hunt we'd been on prior to that, we were tagging out. We were hiking in with 12 days of food, but tagging out at day 7, and then now you're hiking food out. And so it was like, dude, we're so good. What are the odds? What are the odds we're not going to kill something within an 8-day window? Or it was like 10 days, and we were there. I don't remember, 12 or something, 13, and I ended up making that gamble and then having to pay for it. Because
well, we could have easily killed on day 5, 6, or 7. We had some great opportunities. We were just getting too stingy, and we blew it. But
my brother asked me about that a couple days back, or I think it was on our way home the other day, and I said, Brent, it's taken me some time to be around mule deer at the caliber and in the areas where we've been. And I said, when I was there before with Ryan, the last 3 days were phenomenal. And so, the closer you get to the rut, and I was telling him, I thought at any minute it could just pop up, like big bucks could just show up. And I didn't know, I hadn't experienced two diametrically opposed weather patterns and conditions either. So what does that do? And so I'm like, I just have more experience now, so that when I see a buck of the caliber I was seeing, I'm shooting it.
Should probably take it.
Yeah, but at that moment I'm like, all I know is the little bit of experience I've had so far in this category. Now I have every time you do this, you just get broader and broader experience, and you know better what to do or not to do. I did that Arizona mule deer hunt, and I love that buck that I took, and everyone really enjoyed the film. It got lots of positivity. It was really great. But I had a couple people, because you always do, who said that buck was tiny, and that's a last day buck at best, maybe, really? But the film was nice, but he wasn't really worth pursuing. And it's like, I think for me, given what I've accomplished so far and my experience level, dude, that's a dream buck for me. It's a great buck. Absolutely. And I also look at it holistically too. I'm over the counter, public land. There's the other bajillion other guys. I'm looking for the best of the best that I can find. That's what I found. I didn't find anything else. And so perhaps I messed up, but in terms of there being something grander around the corner or something, but then you're out there beating that crap.
Busting my hump trying to find bigger. I was struggling. This is just a tough year, man. I think you did it right. You found a good, respectable buck. And look, there was nothing easy about taking a buck in that area, that many eyeballs, that many does around him, with so few other bucks. What else do you want? Or just a great challenge, and finally get it down. That was pretty cool how it all happened. But you could have been out there doing what I was doing and looking in this spot and seeing a middle-aged buck, and then just running away over here and looking and seeing middle-aged bucks and just never finding that true giant.
And I felt like maybe this guy is on a different level and knows things that I don't know, and that's okay. That's where me going into other hunts, I'm knowing what I'm putting together. I'm totally okay with the bucks I didn't shoot, which I should have when we were hunting last year. It's like I look back on it, like you said, we could have tagged out on day 3, day 5, and I actually was a huge fan of the wide buck that we saw. The first one, I think you kind of liked the second one maybe a little more, but both bucks, I should have shot either one. I literally,
both great bucks.
And the one I should have shot was the one I was really excited about, which was right below us at 180 yards on film, camera blasting. He's just chewing on the bushes, and we watched him forever. And I'm like, I want to shoot him, but I didn't have enough experience to know, well, it's still early, and maybe these 180, 190 inch, or these just club horned, like stumpy buck comes out of the woodwork. And we found this shed that I still have over here, which, Ryan, I freaking love this thing.
Yeah.
But
so cool.
This is not a high scoring buck.
Just old.
But that's kind of like what I'm thinking. This is kind of this type of thing that gets me excited.
Yep.
But not knowing enough, you're like, well, you probably should. You've been there, done this a lot more than me. But I think as I get more experience, I'm confident in making those calls in a way. Like if you fast forward, when I saw that wide 30-inch buck, I was like, I want him. You're like, you'd shoot that buck? I'm like, who wouldn't? Yes, I will shoot that buck.
Right.
And then we were off to the races, and he's kind of what I had my heart set on from that moment on. And I'm glad, right? Yep. And I think he is the biggest buck mule deer I've ever taken.
Yeah, it was a great buck. Just old. Not tough to judge, but somewhat tough to judge, right? I mean, I'd had video of that buck in the past. His body was just so much bigger than every other deer on the mountain. He had it all. He had the width, it had the heaviness to it, and the body that just dwarfed all the other deer on the mountain. So
when I take my other 3, like a few of these mule deer bucks from all my past hunts, I got some Colorado. I got the first buck I shot with you in Idaho. I got and then I've got my Arizona, and I got this muley from you, some Alberta, and I stack them all up side by side, the ones that are just Euros. The head on that buck is gigantic. It's gigantic, Ryan.
It's
His
like
head is like,
yeah, it's like one of the POW giant black bears versus our inland, black bears from here. It's just next level. He didn't belong out there with all the rest of those deer. He was just that much bigger body wise.
When you see that too, you realize that big ears, big bodies like that, you just don't realize how big those antlers are. But then when you take that and you stack it next to another buck, you put those antlers on a buck that has half the head size. Like his head was so much bigger than the buck you shot and buck that Paley shot. In fact, Paley's buck, I think, had the smallest head of the three, and yet the bases and the age and the dominance that buck had was ridiculous.
He was the oldest. Yeah. Yep. Just
gnarly
different body
stuff.
structure. Yep.
And yet the body's just different. And when you see him out there bristled and walking up to the other ones, he looks massive.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of has this,
mm-hmm.
but he's just cut and shredded.
Yeah.
And
and then yours, it seemed like he just came, like he migrated out of Canada or something, like from some far off place that had different genetics, because he just didn't fit the profile of all the other deer in that area. And the other deer that I've seen in the area, that their bodies typically aren't that giant. They're not like these big migrants that have these 200 plus, sometimes 275 pound migrant type mule deer bodies. He had one of those in an area that they don't migrate much.
Well, what's crazy too is you saw that buck the year before. It had him in the crosshairs and debated whether to shoot him or not. Back and forth.
So close.
And I think he was bigger last year, maybe. Based on some of the video. But almost like carbon copy from the year before. No additional tines, no changes really, just kind of the same. But you see that deer, and he was hard to judge. But when I saw him poke up and stand there, because we were looking at the mega fork and a couple others there, and we were kind of like, oh, that one. And then he just trots up and reveals himself in the group, and I'm like, his body is so much bigger than everybody else's. And when he looks head on, gets you excited. When he turns sideways, you're like, well, 3x4, not deep, particular deep fork. But what I didn't realize was how heavy he really was, carrying that mass and stuff. But like I said, you learn as you go. And I feel like every year I get more and more of that experience, so that I don't see myself passing. I think I'll see myself recognizing a great opportunity better than I did in the past.
Sure.
And everybody's like that. I do think that I'd rather err on the side of making the mistake of passing on something, hoping for that unicorn, rather than settling for something. There's that balance, right? Because I passed on brow tine. I'm a moron, and that was sheer lack of experience. Because I've been to Alberta 3 times, and on some pretty spectacular Colorado hunts too, on land that I had permission. And when you get spoiled like that, and then you see a brow tine buck, you're like, well, but you're talking apples and oranges. You're talking totally different worlds. And these bucks in some of these areas where brow tine was, you're not finding
another one like that. No, he's so unique. But yeah, lesson learned on that one, I think. But look, Brian, you take out those 3 third day in, 4 day in, 5 day. Yeah. I'll go for the unicorn.
That's my brother was like. My brother's like, Brian, if you're going to capture some compelling film, you're going to have to just pick one, because if you're waiting on Ryan, we may not come back with films.
You might come down to the end, the last day, and let's face it, it doesn't happen every time on the last day. It happens a lot, but
still, what's fun for me as well is killing something that gets me excited. Like you say, something that speaks to you, and knowing more about what I know, what speaks to me, I have a much clearer idea than I've had in prior times, So this is going to be a fun year. Lots of new places, adventures, completely foreign. Like we're going to learn as we go.
Makes it exciting. It's fun to go back to areas of the past, because you have this nostalgia from things that have worked out. You've killed a big old bear in this basin, and so you want to naturally go back and just have that replay, but oftentimes it doesn't. But I can't say that's any better than just picking a whole new spot, 100 miles from there and going in and relearning and maybe having the exact same thing play out, finding another giant. And it is fun learning new country. Like, you got to totally put all the pieces together again, figure out your best glassing points and camping areas and the water and where they're hanging out. It's just fun to restart.
But we also have the ability on a lot of these places throughout the year to pop smoke after 7 to 10 days and be like, okay, we got 5 or 6 more days. Let's hit this area we know more about. And we have I like that approach. I've been doing that with you since the beginning. You're like, let's go hit all these brand new areas, but we always know we can go here. We've paid the dues, we've earned the knowledge, and we can find stuff there. But let's not use it.
Yeah, how else do you expand your knowledge base besides, getting your feelers out and just broadening your area, new X's on a map in all these different places? And I love doing that. I used to do this in Montana a lot, where I'd say, all right, this is a really, really tough area. I'm going to put 5 days here, and I'm going to learn a whole new place. And, if I can seal the deal in those 5 days, great. But if that doesn't happen, I've got another 3-4 days. I can always go to this spot that I know really well and probably take a buck in a few days. But how else are you going to learn all the other places? Because this is a big playground we have for public land guys. And there's so many ranges that I'm never going to see. And there's just a big basin next to another basin, and you just kind of want to see it all. So, building your hunt, having a cool little game plan or hunt plan, like Livesey would say, check this spot off the map just so you know, like, okay, you've seen it. It's just not an area that speaks to you, but you've got these 3-4 other places, and then you've got your tried and true, you can go in there and kill a bear, or you can go get a buck off of that hill. Just keeps broadening your scope of what you know and the areas that opens up so many more places. And let's face it, we've seen the surge in hunter numbers. So now when your spot is taken, you just got all this whole other bankroll of places you can go, and maybe there won't be a dude there. So
absolutely. I think too, one of the things that's concerning is we put a lot of time into the hunt, and it's an unknown. It may not pay off. And you think about the vacation, the dollars invested, the travel, all of that. Plus for us, it's camera gear, and it's production, and it's content, and it's showing what can be done, or an adventure to an audience. That's really hard to go out, spend 14 days, and come back with not a single animal taken, or really any footage or close calls worth capturing. And frankly, that happened to us once last year. We just got our butts handed to us. There's really not much to share or talk about. It was just a hunt that just
didn't work.
Okay, didn't work. And but the way I see it, we've talked about this a little bit. If we throw ourselves at enough of these, though, 8 out of 10 are going to work. 7 out of 10 are going to work. We're still going to come back, but it's still frustrating for us both. Another hunt we were on that didn't quite pan out was in the fall a little bit, and I was like, we were down to the wire, and you were having a meltdown. Your acceptance of a failure, which is how you were seeing it, is horrible to watch. It's like the closer we get to the last day, the further you want to ride, the more you want to climb, the more you want to hike, the more you want to glass every pocket. It's like you're almost a little bit frantic. Like there must be a unicorn.
There's this little tiny spot up here. We got to go look at it. I mean, what if everything is right there?
Just 7 miles. And if it's not there, we can go 8 miles here. No big deal.
Yeah. Makes it fun.
So I think that's it's good, because that's how you find these and create these epic moments, right? But I'm going into this year with a you can never just expect success. Even with all the work and time and energy that we put into it, it's a big fat question mark. It's a big fat maybe. And we went into, to contrast that, we went into our late season hunts with you and Paley and myself, and I think we tagged your buck on the second day or something. Mine was on the third, and Paley's was basically the first real full day that we hunted. Yeah. It's just like, that was the quickest monster buck hunt I've ever been on. I thought we were going to be there for 2 weeks.
No, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel normal. Like that usually doesn't happen.
But look at the trash on your buck, I mean, so
I didn't feel bad at all for taking that on the second day. That one spoke, and he spoke loud. So
yeah. So I just think a lot of these things, going into the seasons, you don't know, but that's all part of the adventure. I think that's why people like the content we're putting out as well, is because it's real, maybe not. It's over the counter. It's blue collar. It's every man, it's public land. It's the sort of thing that, may or may not work out. We're not doing any like guided pro hunts or private land. We're not tapping into that. And so, hey, there's something there that's it's pretty spectacular, pretty special when you come out of those places with a real special critter,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's nothing special about us, and it's just that we have a drive to succeed. Like those type hunts where it gets a little frantic at the end, especially when you don't have like a critter you've seen, where sometimes you'll see a critter and it's like, well, all right, I'm going to spend the next 5 days. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I know he's here somewhere. And I can sit here on this perch and I can watch, and I'll have the patience to just, if he pokes his head out, I get him. Great. If not, it is a fail. But when you have you never quite get that, you don't even see something that gets you excited, and you're still looking for that spot. Oof, that does get to frantic mode. And then you get to that point where the only thing that makes sense is make it happen. How do you make it happen? You just push.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works.
Well, I do think that when I look at the amount of success that I've had on the last day, that list is long, man. And that just goes to show it's not easy to do this stuff, but every extra hour, every extra day you get to put in, your odds are that much closer that perfect storm is going to happen. I shot that buck in Arizona this year. It was down to the last day. I even stayed an extra day, and it was like my last day. I'm like, okay, that's it. And sure enough, it worked out. And I think that's just the approach you got to have. We say this all the time. Some people say, how do I really increase my success? And we say this often, a minimum of a 10-day hunt. Like days in the field, that's really tough to beat. You got an archery elk hunt. Don't go for 5 days. Don't go for 7 days. Go for 10. And if you can go for 14, do that, and your odds go through the roof. I
think it doesn't get talked about enough. There's all kinds of strategies and techniques and tips and things like that, but ultimately, if in your life you can set yourself up with your job, with your family, you can do all these things to set yourself up to give you more time on the mountain. That's huge. It's a huge part of being able to go out there and just consistently try to tackle, especially mature animals. It's how you set your life up. If it's that important to you, to do anything and everything it takes to, hey, I married a great wife who manages to hold down the fort while I'm gone on these trips, and she crushes. And I worked a crud ton of hours in my prior life prior to being here in Montana. And for the most of my life, I wanted it to get to a point where I could hunt more and put more days on the mountain. And it's just a slow progression. 20 somethings aren't going to probably get those 10 consecutive 10-day trips, the abilities to do that. You're just not there financially, or your life isn't set up there. But eventually that was my goal, and all the stars aligned, and I happen to be there now, you and I both. It was just a focus that we had to be able to do this and spend more days on the hill.
Yep, that's a key. Well, dude, thanks for sitting down with me. We still have like 38 questions or something that people want us to run over, so we'll have to do that another time. But this was really cool. You hammered on a lot of things that I wanted to talk about. So people can go check out Stealthy Nutrition at stealthynutritioncbd.com.
Perfect.
And we'll put that link in the description field. Like I said, you can always find Ryan at Stealthy Hunter or Hunt and Harvest Health, and I'm sure there's links out like in your link tree and stuff there through social.
Yep, there is.
And folks, use the code GRITTY and get 10% off over at Stealthy Nutrition. And I think that's it. I'm ready to end this and get back to work. I got to drop a film tomorrow. So.
I think we just put a few hours into this one.
I do. We did.
We did.
Lots.
That was a long one. Well,
yeah.
All right. Well, cool. I'm going to get after it as well. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.